Welcome back to Bazooka Kickboxing, and today we're going to discuss how to defend and counter the jab kickboxing style. There's a lot of videos and there's a lot of content out there on how to do it from a boxing approach. So a lot of times slipping your head off center line is the way the boxer will do it. But with kickboxing, it's really important to know how to use your feet to shut down your opponent's hands, especially the jab, since a lot of people start their punch combinations or their kick combinations with the jab following the round kick. So if you can really shut down that jab right away, it can shut down their offense. So the best way to do it is really focus on and slow down how you shut down that jab. If you look at Bazooka Kickboxing style, we like to use the low kick off of the jab. But there's other ways you can do it as well. You can take those kicks to the body using your right leg, your left leg, and one of the easiest ways is to use the front kick. And yes, you can still mix and match the boxing techniques and the counters as well, but to make them more effectively, you have to switch them up. So a lot of times when I'm fighting, I'll use my kicks to shut down the jab. As the fight progresses, that is the time that you want to use those boxing techniques. Because when you're using your kick, you can stay at a longer range. To defend a jab, I have to get close, and in this way, you're in mid-range, which can cause action from both sides. But if I can use my legs and be the longer fighter, it keeps me safer at that time. I always like to use the analogy, if you have a knife and a sword in a fight, you obviously want to use the longer weapon first. It's safer. I'm going to stab somebody with my sword to keep them away instead of having to use the little knife where it's a little bit more dangerous. So let's get into different ways that as a kickboxer, you shut down that jab. Before being able to counter the jab, you must be able to defend it. You got to understand the distance that your opponent has. So when the jab first comes, there's different ways to block it. And if you're not sure of the different ways, make sure you go back, watch the Bazooka defensive system on the channel. But the safest and the easiest way to block that jab, if I'm going to shut it down with my kicks, is to use the parry. So as the jab comes, I parry, and you can see I create the distance in my stance. So if he steps in here, now I'm kind of close, I'm jammed, and I'm in the way of the right hand, because ultimately, when I defend this jab, I need to be careful that the other hand comes. So if I sit there and I stay here, I'm gonna eat the two, and obviously it's gonna knock me out or push me back or make him score better. So the first thing I need to do is to create the space in my feet. So you see, I take a step back with that jab. Okay, so the other thing I can block with is my lead wedge. So that's my options. Those are the two easiest ways. Again, a boxing perspective, the jab might come, I might move my head, but at this time I'm too close to get the low kick. So using the parry, the wedge, or the distance in your feet will get it. So again, the jab comes, I could even step back, create my space, and then chop the leg. All right, so low kick is my favorite to go with. So boom, chop the leg, I could wedge and chop, number one. So take the leg. The second one, very simple, is I can take that right kick to the body. So as the jab comes, I hit the body, okay? I can hit here or my low kick. Those are my two options. Very simple, okay? And it's good to change levels to always keep them guessing, because as you get more advanced into fighting, a lot of people will jab light on that foot so they could block. So there, and they can block. He brings it up, boom. So this way, if he jabs again, boom, I take the body kick right away, and this way it changes it up, makes it more difficult. Okay, the third option with my right side is using the front kick. As soon as the jab comes, I just use my front teep, I keep them away. So right away, I can shut it down with low kick, body, or my front kick. All right, so when you do these drills, you can do them as slow or as advanced as you want. I like to start with just the low kick. As the low kick timing gets comfortable, you mix to the body, then you can mix the front kicks. Okay, now I can use my left side. Off of the jab, I can touch the inside leg, or I can kick the body right away, and same thing, boom, use my front kick. So keeping the length is the number one thing. The way I like to drill this now is the one person will just jab, and I find the different kick counters off of it. So it's really important that at first, just stick to the jab, okay? Because a lot of times if you just go right into multiple punches, it's really hard to catch that timing. So when you do it, make sure you block a few times before you mix in that kick. All right? You can mix in both sides. As a coach, you could really sit in there and talk about using just the left leg or the right leg to get that timing. All right, so once that gets more advanced, you shut the jab down. You just get your opponent or your partner to just throw that 2 every so often to make sure you're protected when you're kicking. So one quick tip I'll give you is if the jab comes, I use the parry. As the cross comes, I'm making sure I'm defensive and I could parry that too. Another one I like to use is I can chop off the lead wedge and keep my shell nice and tight. A lot of times you'll see people move their head off center line, so I can get my head off, or what I can do is step off and create an angle. So many different ways, but this whole video is all about shutting down that jab right away. A good example for you to watch is to go back and watch my fight at Glory 9 with Francois Ambang, punches versus low kicks. Now that you have the simple timing off of the jab, let's make it more advanced. Let's get it into a more live sparring type of drill. So Abiel's gonna come, he's gonna punch, I'm gonna make sure I block and use my kicks to shut it down. Remember, it's all about using the kicks to shut down that jab, kickboxing style over using your boxing. Is boxing wrong? No, but hey, we have our kicks, we might as well use them. To shut down the jab using your kicks, it's really important that you defend the punch. That's number one. Before you start attacking the leg, attacking the body, using the front kicks, block the punch that's coming. And then this way you know your timing. But a real big key is, and I keep mentioning it, is making that step backwards to make sure you have the space to kick. If someone's attacking with their hands and I just stay shelled up this way, there's not enough room for me to get my kick off. So that's why every time I defend, whether it's with a parry or my lead wedge, I step back, okay? I create that space, I lengthen my stance, because that's an important key. If I'm sitting here in a nice high, short stance, I'm not gonna have that momentum to throw my kick. The example I use is if you're hitting a home run in baseball, if you're gonna hit a little bunt, there's no power. You need that full long stance, that rotation, that drive to do the most damage. So when I am attacking, I create that space in my stance, and now I have a big launch off to get the power. Okay? So make sure lengthening the stance, pushing off the rear calf. It's like a spring. As soon as I step back, it creates that launch. So block the punch first, counter with the kick number 2. And again, it's about length and understanding the range of your weapon. If you're an aggressive fighter, you might want to come in with the hands to shut out that low kick. But if you're fighting Muay Thai, you're staying longer, or you just want to keep your opponent away from you, using your kicks to shut down the hands is a very important weapon. So make sure you keep liking, subscribing to the channel, and make sure you click that bell below and make sure you get those notifications, because I am going to be putting out more content in the future. Okay? So keep sharing, keep growing Bazooka Kickboxing.